Hey, and welcome to another Football Manager video. So the thing about doing a Pentagon is it makes you ruthless. I've just won the J League Division 1 and the Cup in Japan with the team I've been bringing up all the way from Division 3 to Division 2 to Division 1. So far, so normal for a Football Manager save. Trouble is, we haven't got any money. However, I found a team that has got money. Yokohama. And not only have Yokohama got money, but they want to give me a job. And when I look at this list of the clubs in Asia, Yokohama seems like a pretty good place from which to have a go at winning the Asian Champions League. I'll be up against the Saudi clubs now. It's me against Al Hilal and the small matter of the 1.4 million per week that they're able to pay players. Right then, let's see what we've got, shall we? Okay, so jumping forward in time in game by about a year, and now here we are in April 2032. So I was appointed as the Yokohama manager in March 2031. It's a year later, and we've just made it to the Asian Champions League final. What I'll do is just bring you up to speed on the squad building and how we've got on, and in particular, how we are trying to build up to deal with trying to beat a higher reputation club, a Saudi club with very considerably more resources than us. So this is the previous year's league season, and with the sort of resources we've now got, the domestic league is no longer that much of a challenge. We can, however, use it to develop younger players. And in this season, we're continuing to rotate, but we've managed to go through the first 11 games unbeaten. In the Asian Champions League, the way it works is that the East Asian and West Asian clubs are split apart all the way through until the final. So in the group stage, we took on clubs from Singapore and Indonesia, which isn't really a fair fight because the resources are so divergent. And then also from Korea, which we managed to win. Then in the knockout stages, we took on 2 Japanese clubs and a Korean club and again made our way through. It's only in the final that we will come up against one of the Saudi clubs. You can see when you look at the past winners of this competition, that in all the seasons that have been simulated in this save, a Saudi team has won the AFC Champions League. And that's hardly surprising because if you look at the club we're going to face in the final, they've got an £80 million bank balance and they play players £1.5 million a week, 875,000 a week, and so on. There is absolutely no sensible comparison between the resource base of the Saudi clubs and the other clubs that compete in the Asian Champions League. Squad building wise, no great surprises. I've removed players that don't fit the tactic, reduced the wage bill, realised transfer fees where possible, and then tried to reinvest those resources in players who fit the tactic better. So take, for example, this goalkeeper who is one of the highest earners in the club when I joined, 136 appearances for the club, but has low agility. I've replaced that goalkeeper with this one with 16 agility, 16 reflexes, and good attributes elsewhere. And when you look at the polygons, the difference between the goalkeepers is fairly obvious. The club I joined was 6th in the league, and the squad was completely imbalanced. There were talented guys in the squad, but this guy with jumping reach 10 and 5'7" was the best centre-back in the club. So just flicking through the players we brought in to give a sense of some of the upgrades we've brought into the club. So for example, this guy, more or less on a free transfer from one of the German clubs, a central midfielder with high stamina, work rate, good acceleration and pace and well-rounded. He's been a successful guy that we've brought in. I've been pretty focused on looking for young players where they can realise some potential and we can develop players that are better than the natural level of Japanese J-League Division 1. So for example, if you take a player like this that we signed from Swedish football for about £1 million, you can see this player is much better than your typical Japanese J1 player, but he is continuing to develop strongly. Same idea with this guy. He's a centre-back from Colombia, again signed inexpensively, but with lots of potential. And in the J-League, we can give players like this thousands of minutes, which will help them to realise their potential. We've generally been paying slightly higher fees for domestic players, and in particular looking to find young Japanese players who are outstanding players at J-League level, good enough to compete in the Asian Champions League, and importantly with no release clauses, so that these guys can come in on long-term contracts and form the core of our team. We are slightly overpaying for some of these guys. So for example, this guy Yoshida, who's okay, but his main characteristic that we were recruiting for here is that he is Japanese and willing to sign a contract that will take him through the next few years. So if we do lose some of these Champions League finals, we will have a core that should hopefully mean that we can come back year after year until we finally win one. Just pointing out variations on our theme here again, another young Japanese player we've brought in here to be a centre-back. It's quite unusual to find young Japanese centre-backs with good jumping reach that are well rounded, but we found one here, so brought him into the squad. Here's another example of an overseas player that we think will, with minutes, improve fairly substantially and is more than good enough to be playing in the J League now and can compete in the Asian Champions League. Here a little bit different, a fill in the gaps kind of signing at age 32, but again a good solid overseas player in a position we needed, which in this case left wing back. We also targeted as a loan here. This is an outstanding player that can play up front for us. We're only going to have loan players during the knockout stages of the Asian Champions League. We won't do that during the rest of the season. We'll play our young players and develop them instead. But in that knockout phase, when we're up against the Saudi clubs, we're going to need all the help we can get. And so bringing a player on loan is absolutely part of the way we're going to try to deal with that. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you'll be familiar with this player scoring system app, which uses a weighted attribute score to judge how well players fit tactics. And I like to just take the team that we're up against in this final, Al Ali from Saudi Arabia, and just look at their players on this app to see how they score and how they compare to my players. So I've got at the bottom here our squad, the Yokohama squad, and we've got a starter and a reserve at each of the positions in my tactic. And I've put over here how the opposition compare against us. Now, unfortunately, they compare against us pretty well. They've got players like Declan Rice that we can't possibly compete with. He is clearly superior to any of the players in our squad. They've got a goalkeeper that is very considerably better than our goalkeeper. But on the plus point, because the Asian Champions League requires there to be at least 5 domestic players in a team, their team will at least be patchy. Their centre-backs, for example, are not very good. Coming back into the app, we can see their best pure centre-back is this guy, Ahmed Al-Ghamdi, who is 20 years old and scores 12.2. The next one down is 17 years old and scores 11.6, Rami Aziri. If you compare Rami Aziri against his counterpart in our team, Molinari, you can see that there's a clear gap between them. So whereas some players like Declan Rice are clearly going to overmatch the players in our team, some of their guys, like Rami Aziri, are going to find themselves overmatched by the players in our team. The final will be all about mismatches. Put simply, our domestic players are slightly better than their domestic players, and their foreign players are quite a lot better than our foreign players. All we can do is line ourselves up as sensibly as we can, keep reaching the final, and eventually we should win one. All right, so it's match day. It's a 2-legged final. We are home to begin with, and we've got a slightly ridiculous J1 fixture in between the two, but we'll play the youth team for that. Okay, here's our team. Pretty familiar tactic with our better players being Christensen and Barreto up front. I think those guys are our hopes really in this game. Let's see how we get on. Right, straight into the game and pressing pause, and it looks like injury luck has done us some massive favours here. There's no Declan Rice, and they have their goalkeepers. Their overseas goalkeeper's not there either. Let's have a look at their squad. Yeah, look, so we've got Rice is injured for 4 months. Their goalkeeper Costa is injured for 3 months with a fractured skull, and for whatever reason, these two guys are unregistered. So you can only register 6 foreign players, I think it is, or maybe it's 5 foreign players and then 1 Asian but not foreign player. So they've only got 1, 2, 3 of their foreign players in the team. 1, 2, 3. Their front 3 are overseas players, but all else are Saudi domestic. Well, hopefully that gives us a better chance. All right, we're in blue. I'm feeling a lot more confident now of seeing those injuries. It's really ours to lose from here, I think. So the wing backs going forward to make pretty much a front 5. We build up in a sort of 3-2-5 setup, which is pretty cool the way the positional play has been built into FM24. Right, we're through. Come on then, get the cut back. Yes. Oh, that looked on to me. Come on. Yes. All right. Now it's really just their front 3 who are clearly better than our team, not everybody else. So if we just defend with numbers, we got 3 at the back and we defend with numbers, You just hope we get a bit of luck along the way. But we're set up pretty well for this, I think, and now we can break, and we're stronger and more physical than they are for everyone other than their forwards. So we should be strong on the counter-attack. And even when the defence gets set, we should be all right with aerial threats. There we go. Yes. Right, we're just piling on the pressure now. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. 3-0 in the first half of the first leg. This is exactly what our best possible outcome would have been. No Declan Rice, no 1.4 million a week. I mean, we are fighting fire with fire a little bit. Yokohama Marinos is an affiliate of the City, the Manchester City network of clubs. So we are fighting fire with fire a little bit on the petrodollars front. But that's the best chance they've had. They're not really competitive with us. Most of the domestic players aren't quite at the level of our domestic players. And then, of course, we've got our international players on top, and they've had the injuries they've had. So this really is a huge opportunity for us. Almost. No away goal now. That would be great for us. We can just somehow get through this no away goal. We're having a lot of success from crosses. I don't think their centre backs are really anything like good enough. Nope, it's Elise Vlahovic. We've got to be careful. Oh, it was always likely that they were going to have a few attacks, seeing as their forwards are clearly the best players on the pitch. They should have some set piece threats as well, for the same reason their forwards are as strong as they are. But we are built pretty physically, particularly by the standards of an Asian Champions League team. Oh, still no, not that much we can do about crosses into Vlahovic. We're going to struggle a little bit with those. No, he's in again. He's in again. Well, he's the best player on the pitch, so you just have to accept from time to time when you go against these guys, you're going to be overmatched against their superstar players. But you just got to hope that you can compete. And yes, we compete there as well. Oh, come on, that looked on as well. Ah, 3-1, just the one away goal. I mean, it would have been much better for there to be none, but all right, I think that'll do us. 3-1 is a good solid first leg. That is a pretty comprehensive victory, and just fingers crossed that we can repeat the dose when we go back for the second leg. All right, so we've played the second leg. We won the second leg 4-2, and we won the Champions League final 7-3 on aggregate. Same story, really. Their top players, their superstar forwards were too hot for us to handle, and so we saw them scoring goals, but generally we were the better team. And so that's that. We've won the AFC Champions League. That's the first of the Pentagon Challenge 5 that we need to win. And so I have immediately resigned. I am looking for a new job now. I've got 3.5-star reputation, which isn't too bad. And when you look at the jobs that I could get, there are a couple in Africa, which would be a logical next step to go and try to win the African Champions League. But we'll also have a look more broadly at the ways that we might build reputation. Just looking at the league map that I've put together, views in the description here, you'll be able to see that across world football there are quite a few leagues that are sort of a bit better than the first division in Japan, maybe sort of up like this. It's probably a bit ambitious to try to get to the Eredivisie or the first division in Argentina. It might be too much of a jump now to go to Mexico, which would be a place to go and see if we can get to the North American Champions League. Not entirely, or the Central and North American Champions League. Not immediately clear, but that's at least the first of the 5 trophies dealt with. So I'll drop back into this Pentagon Challenge save when something else interesting happens. I think that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do, of course, subscribe if you want to see more, and I shall see you guys in the next one.